Welcome to Super Families with Sue. I'm glad you could join us. My name is Sue Karoga. Take a moment. Think about it. Would I want my child to be exactly like me? Exactly where you are. Would you want your son or your daughter to be engaging in the kind of activity that you are engaged in right now? It is Bob Kishan who says that parents are the ultimate role models for their children. Every word, every movement, every action has an effect. No other person or outside force has a greater influence on a child than the parent. Think about it and join me. Welcome back. We've had a series of discussions on the topic daily child routine in the COVID-19 season. And now we are looking at the implementation phase, where we are looking at the 7 pillars of implementation. We've already looked at the first pillar, that is communication, then resources and parental monitoring. And now today we go to the 4th pillar, which is parental role modeling. Parental role modeling. And so we are saying that even as we are monitoring our children's activities, we need to be conscious that they are watching us, they are observing us, and they are going to be imitating us. All our actions and all our behaviors are being watched, and they are going to imitate us. A role model is a person who displays or performs certain actions and behaviors which are then observed and imitated by another person. And as parents, we are role models for our children. Now, you can be a positive role model or you can be a negative role model. That is your choice as a parent. But a positive role model is a person who engages in positive actions, positive behaviors, good behaviors, virtues that are then observed and imitated by their child or by their children. And of course, then a negative role model is the opposite of that. A person who will engage in negative behavior, bad behavior, vices that are observed and imitated by their child. And we are saying you can choose to be a positive role model or a negative role model. And all our actions, all our behaviors are being watched closely by our children, whether we know it or not, whether we like it or not, and they are going to be imitating us. Now, earlier on, together with my kids, we prepared this Play-Doh. You can actually prepare it just using baking flour and some food color. Unfortunately, the food color that we used is kind of fading as it is drying. And I didn't tell them what to make or what to try and model. But as you can see here, my daughter, she decided to model this bowl and she put in some fruits inside there. And it's a beautiful one. And now my son decided to model this toy car here. And you can see that he tried to put some little fellows here, riding the vehicle. He's fascinated by vehicles or by cars. And now I asked my son how comes he was able to model this particular toy car. And he told me that he had an idea of what he was making. He knew what he wanted to make. And so we are saying in parental role modeling, the first thing that we need to do, we need to have an idea of the behavior that we want to see in our children. Yeah, we need to know what behavior do I want to see in my child? What do I want my child to become after all? And then the second thing that we need to do is to realize that this particular toy car cannot make itself. This particular bowl cannot make itself. You have to go ahead, you take the clay or the Play-Doh and then you model the kind of bowl that you want to see. For example, my daughter decided that she's going to add some pink decoration right there, and that is what it has become. So you have to do it with your own hands. You have to do it yourself. You model exactly what you want to see. And that is what we are talking about, parental role modeling. We must know exactly the behavior that we want to see in our children. We must be conscious of that behavior. And then the second thing we must understand, we have to display the behavior that we want to see in our children, because all our children are going to be doing is to imitate us. So it means that if I want my child to be kind, then I must display that kindness myself. I display that behavior of being kind. If I want my child not to spend the whole day in front of the television, watching television, then I myself must make sure I don't display that kind of behavior. I must also desist from spending the whole day watching television. And we are saying something else, that the behavior we display is more important than the words we say. If you display a negative behavior, then it does not matter how much you talk about the positive behavior. What your child will imitate is the negative behavior that you are displaying. So if myself, I spend the whole day watching television, it does not matter how much I make noise at my child because they are watching television. What they are going to imitate is that behavior that I am displaying of watching too much television. And this is where we are normally told, monkey see, monkey do. It is not more of what we say, it is more of what the behavior that we are displaying, where we are saying actions speak louder than words. And this is more so for our children, because we live with them, and the behavior we are displaying, we are more likely to repeat it over and over again, and therefore it becomes more impactful. And that is why we as parents are the most influential role models for our children, whether we believe it or not. And so we need to be conscious of that fact, that the behavior we are displaying will be more impactful because it is stored in our child's subconscious. And when they will be given the opportunity, that is the behavior that they are most likely going to display. So we need to be conscious of that fact, even as we are monitoring our children's daily activity and even as we go through life. Allow me to highlight quickly some areas that we need to be conscious about, and then maybe later on we can discuss them in details. One area that we are seeing lacking in our times is the area of kindness. Many people are becoming very mean, and we need to ask ourselves, could it be that that is the behavior that we are displaying at home? And if that is it, then we need to change and become positive. We need to make use of words like please, thank you, excuse me, and even forgive me. There are some people who can never say sorry or please forgive me. They are, too proud to be able to do that. And perhaps that is the behavior that was modeled at home. Other people, they don't respect other people's opinions, other people's thoughts. Yeah, they are very disrespectful. Others are even very demeaning. They use demeaning language on other people, criticizing constantly other people and putting other people down constantly. Perhaps that is behavior that they have learned from home. And as parents, we need to evaluate ourselves and see, could it be that the behavior I'm seeing in my child would be as a result of what I have been displaying? The other area that I want to highlight is the area of emotions. Emotional control. Are you emotionally controlled as a parent, or you melt down at every opportunity that you get? Something small happens and you explode. Perhaps that is the behavior you have been displaying, and that is the reason why you are seeing that behavior in your child. And you need to be careful about that. And this is particularly important. If you have anger issues, please see a therapist and learn how to control your anger, because children who are raised in abusive homes, children who are abused, end up they themselves becoming abusive grown-ups and abusive parents. And that's not something that you want for your child. And so if you have a challenge, for example, with your anger issues, please deal with it so that you exercise emotional control, even as you're monitoring the activities of your child, so that you are not constantly exploding at every small provocation. And also, how do you express extreme joy? How do you express extreme sadness? We are seeing many times nowadays, when somebody is very happy or when somebody is very sad, they result into drinking as a way of dealing with it. But that is not a positive behavior. It is not a positive behavior to display for our children. Because what are we teaching them? that they cannot control their emotions. Yet it is possible for us to control our emotions. And I have already talked about screen time and unplugged activities. If we don't want our children to constantly be in their gadgets, even as parents, let's put down our gadgets, let us switch off the TV, and let's also engage in other positive activities. The other area is the area of health. Good eating habits, and as well physical activity. This is very important. If we are telling our kids to eat healthy, how are we eating ourselves? Are we engaging in physical exercise, or we are just telling our kids to engage in physical exercise? We need to go out there and also join them in some physical activity that is being a positive role model. Another area I want to highlight is the area of marriage. The area of marriage, and this is actually becoming a crisis. We are seeing increasingly young people, and our young people, they refusing to get married, choosing that they are not going to get married. Other young ladies choosing that I will just get a baby and I will not get married. Could it be because of the modeling that we have shown them in our homes, and they have decided that they don't want to get married in the first place? In fact, they don't even want to try. They have decided that's not for me, and they don't even want to try. Could it be because of the behavior that we have displayed at home in our marriages, constantly fighting, never resolving any issues? Yeah, perhaps that is what is causing many of our young people to run away from marriage, and we need to evaluate ourselves as parents. Are we being good role models even in the area of marriage? And then the other area I want to highlight right now is in the area of character and moral display. What behavior are you displaying before your child? And I want to particularly talk about sexual activity, or your sexualization. What behavior are you displaying before your child? Are you operating multiple partners? Do you have sexual discipline? And many times when we raise these issues, many of us become very defensive because we want our children to become morally upright, and we ourselves are not morally upright. But we are saying that is not possible, because our children have no choice but to ape our behavior. They are going to imitate us. So in our morals, are we morally upright, or are we displaying some very bad behaviors? And then the other area that is becoming critical in our times is the area of alcohol, drug, and substance abuse. And particularly now, with the way that during this COVID season, that the clubs and the pubs have been closed, many people transferred the bars into their own houses, and they are drinking and making merry right in front of their children. What do you think will happen to our children later? We are seeing an increase in the young people who are drinking, the children who are drinking, children becoming alcoholic addicts even at the age of 8, at the age of 9 years old. The other time we saw, in social media, a mother who was literally feeding the young child with alcohol, and there was an uproar with many people calling for the arrest of that mother. Really, really bad role modeling. And we are saying we have a choice. Let us choose to be positive role models for our children. And then the other area I would like to highlight is the area of our spirituality. We see a lot of times that children of religious people, of pastors, of preachers, turning out badly. And I know there are many reasons for that. One of them is outright rebellion. And another reason is, of course, spiritual attacks, because we know the devil is there. But another reason is because the parent is fake. You preach water, but you drink wine. And your child realizes that you are not a genuine, you are a fake. And they decide that whatever you are preaching is not applicable, is not doable. And they choose to go in the immediate direction. So we need to realize that even in our spirituality, we are being role models. Can we choose to be positive role models for our children in all our undertakings? Because they are watching every single behavior, every action we are taking, every reaction, and they are going to be imitating us whether we like it or not. And the question we need to ask ourselves, when my children will display that behavior, will I be proud of them, or will I be ashamed? That is what we need to ask ourselves. And the other thing we need to remind ourselves is that at the end of the day, God gave us these children, and they are full of great gifts, great talent, and we should not be the ones who are going to devalue them. We should not be the ones who are going to make them to end up becoming irresponsible adults. You know, people who are not productive, people who can actually be called useless because we were bad role models for them. Let us choose to become positive role models. And let us also remember that God gave us our children as stewards. We are only stewards, and God is going to hold us accountable for what we do with our children. We are going to give account, both in this life and in the life to come, of the role models that we were in front of our children, because our behavior is very impactful and very influential to our children. And so for now, we will stop there about that pillar of role modeling, and then next time we are going to be talking about motivation. But from me for now, it is bye-bye. Thank you for watching, and God bless you. Thank you very much.